So, a very warm welcome to you, James Martinez. Welcome to this podcast.
Thank you very much for having me. Thanks for your invitation. I appreciate it.
It's really a privilege to be able to host such an interview. I didn't know an awful lot about you and what you were doing. Actually, I didn't know that you existed. If we just go a couple of weeks back, and that's a big fault on my side, because I know how important books are, and I read a lot of books. And this book I had in mind for a long time, that I wanted to get and read, and it's not easy to get, actually, not in Denmark at least. And then as I'm reading it and researching on it, I stumbled upon your name, and this book is called Operation Mind Control. It's originally written by Walter Board, and then when you start researching this area, you find out that actually yourself, James Martinez, that you are very involved in propagating the message of this book, and are actually involved in some of the updates to this book. So, James, I understand you have a very diverse background. Please tell the audience who you are, where you're from.
Okay, well, obviously I'm a U.S. Person from the United States. I was born there, but I grew up all over the place, Brazil, England, and while I was in Europe, that is where life changed for me. Initially, I was going to what's referred to as a Department of Defense Dependent School, or a DOD school, as the acronym refers to, which was a U.S. military base in High Wycombe, England, and that's where I went to high school. And my life changed dramatically with events that occurred in High Wycombe, England, which had a chain of events which led me up to where I am today.
Which period in time is this in England? What year is this?
Is in 1981. In 1981.
Right.
So back then, the type of information that I'm telling now, in 1981, was not discussed anywhere by anybody about anything, and that was a UFO event that took place in High Wycombe, England, when I was in high school. And at that time, there was absolutely nobody that you could entrust talking about that particular subject matter. There just wasn't. There was nothing in bookstores, anything. You might find science fiction books related to that, but I was out running, actually, and I had an event occur where I saw an up close event, sort of a UFO related event, that basically changed my internal compass permanently into a different area. And eventually I left England. My family wanted to move back to the United States. And as soon as I returned to the U.S., I was finishing high school up in Arizona. And all I can say is to give people a visual of how my life was internally inside. It was like Richard Dreyfuss in Close Encounters. I was severely changed by an event that happened to me. And that event that happened to me led me to the doorstep, eventually, of a gentleman by the name of Walter Board, who authored the book Operation Mind Control. I was involved with the second publication and follow-up to that, but because of events I was involved with in the early 80s, what happened by about 1990 Um, I was in Tucson, Arizona, um, because I was being interviewed regarding a UFO case at that time, and it was a very unusual case because there was actual changes in the physiology of the recipient, and I had previously met another contactee who had an experience. At that time, nobody knew what to call all of this stuff. There was no names, there's no research, there's no understanding, there is no nothing, absolutely nothing. So these chain events that, you know, from growing up as a child and this event happening, I was in Tucson, Arizona, and I was introduced to Walter Bauer. Now, for most of the world doesn't know who this guy is or what he did at all, but the effects of what he did are all over culture, all over the world now. They are because he figured out that human behavior, human ecology, and human perception was all being manufactured and um, uh, manipulated into culture over a very, very long period of time. And the moment each of us met, I basically was talking to him every day until he died, because I took over all of his work. But Walter Borg was the gentleman that started the underground press syndicate in the 60s, which would be called alternative press. He testified before Congress regarding the use of LSD and telling Kennedy not to ban it. That is one of his most famous points. But he ran a newspaper in New York called the East Village Other, and that's what led him to the exposure of MK Ultra, because the initial hearings in the United States said that they admitted there was experiments, but those experiments that they did on the public were finished and led to nothing. And of course, it was a total complete lie. It was quite the opposite of that. He's the gentleman that exposed that. So it was the exposure and proof of the world's biggest secret, which was the manipulation and the manufacturing of human behavior for political and intelligence purposes behind the national security curtain. So it was affecting decision-making issues internationally. It was affecting military warfare and sexual blackmail, all of those things that entail and how that was done. So I was brought into his circle because at that time I had been interacting with some of the most famous contactees at that time that are world famous now because of what they did. But I basically came to Walter Boer to tell him that the alien abductions were being faked using behavioral software to institute an experience which could be used for military and intelligence purposes. And the
How
reason
did you
it was,
figure that out, James?
I'll tell you how, and I've been public about this because the person that helped me figure it out was a woman by the name of Marion Shenefield. She was the protege of Dr. Andrea Puharich, who is the United States sanctioned scientist that was doing all the research R&D for psychic warfare in the United States. Marianne Shenefield was probably the most significant contact case up to that point, and maybe still today, because they altered her eyesight and brain, and it allowed her to use more of her brain than a normal person, and allowed her to see in ways that the government got very nervous about. And we investigated what was going on, because at that time in culture, the abduction phenomena and what Bud Hopkins had done, that was fairly new. And we enhanced the situation by explaining that they were faking alien abductions for political purposes whilst covering up the real ones, because there is a big national security issue having to do with the cognitive enhancement of contactees, and they had to keep that under control, and they wanted to control the narrative of what this whole thing means and where it's going. So this is what I brought to Walter Board, and this was the missing piece of MK Ultra, because MK Ultra split off into about at least 10 different programs that were operating in the United States. That originally MK Ultra was something that was going on in World War II and in France before the Tavistock Institute took it over, and then the United States, they finalized it or commercialized it or put it out into the world at that time. So the exposure of that information at that time, nobody had that at all. So that is my partnership with Walter Board. That's what gave birth to the whole thing, essentially. That's how I met him.
Not an easy story to convey to the general public, and hence I want to take several sessions with you to actually go into some of the details that you are bringing to the public, or have been bringing for many years. But as you said before we went on line here, now is a very important time for understanding these things, which I totally agree with you. But before going down that road, I still want to know more about who you are and what you've been doing. Walter Board was part of this, I think, beatnik generation. Allen Ginsberg and Kerouac and that sort of revolution that was going on and never really was or became the revolution. And then you meet with Walter Board. You have this UFO abduction insight into this area, and the combination of these is sort of the missing piece to understand this whole operation, mind control, MK Ultra, mass psychosis area. And so how did you go about it, you and Walter, back then?
It was very difficult for me personally, and for him, and for other people that we met along the way, because in the early 90s, nobody knew anything about this. Nobody knew what was going on. I met with psychologists, psychiatrists, people that were in the neurosciences, not only to report to them myself, but look at all their research that they had, because we had access to many aspects of the mental health profession. And what is the mental health profession? Who governs it, controls it? So my life has been behind the scenes of that, preparing the architecture of not only the exposure of how all this happened, but my relation to it and what I'm doing now, essentially. You know, I get a lot of, I've spoken all over the press for a very long time. I've been in 4 documentary movies. I have at least 15 more interviews to do. You're literally catching me at my kind of final stage of my life, the biggest part, literally, because of the decisions and what I have to do presently, which is because people are, I'm sure, we're wondering, where are you now? Well, I'm the chief advisor for the brain-computer interface for the U.S. and the Brain-Computer Interface Committee. I'm not actually on the committee because I wouldn't sign documents that would limit my communications to the public. So when you ask me who I am, it's a long story. It's a long story, and it's a big story. And I have been asked, when are you writing a book? And da, da, da. I'm not writing a book or doing any of that until I get to a certain point. And the point, that's the reason why I came here to talk to you, is that we're at the literal crossroads of deciding our fate as a species because of the fusion of brain, computer, AI, and quantum. It literally is a extinction level event in progress. So when you ask me a question, well, who are you? I would say I'm one of the most important and maybe significant freedom fighters ever. Because freedom to me means it's not just a political thing. It means you have the right to your own cognitive liberty and decision-making process of who you are, how you're to be, where you're to go, and what your spiritual evolution is. And it's those things that that is most important to me. So when you ask me, who are you? I would say that I'm for the liberation of the human race. I've always been for that because of what we're in right now. So if you ask me, who am I? And I would try to encapsulate it at my root, that's where I'm at. I'm here on assignment to make sure that your audience, you and everybody that ever sees this, has a right to exist and decide and make decisions and have value assessments and have the freedom and autonomy to govern thyself. That is me. That is who I am. That is why I'm here. And this is the only thing that I'm doing. I'm involved in many different areas regarding that specifically. If people do a lot of research on me, they'll see me involved with a lot of exposure of technologies and so forth. And it's not the exposure of the technology that I'm about. I'm about the how that technology is affecting culture and us, the creators of that technology. Because we have a huge, monolithic, gigantic problem, and that is that we're not capable any further of allowing people to govern us in the way that's been done before. And that means, what I'm saying is that the old world way of understanding contract law, everything that has to do with putting society of how it is over. It is so over that there needs to be a circle, literally, of people from all over the world. And I'm talking about the United Nations, talking about black, white, red, yellow, brown, multiple countries, multiple languages, at a essential meeting about what we are going to be as a species. That's where I'm at. If you ask, who are you? This is what I'm doing. This is all I'm doing. This is what I am here to do. And all of this came from the work I did with Walter Bowert behind the scenes, because we were the first organized unit of people that set up something called the Freedom of Thought Foundation, which still exists today. Because that's why I'm here, is so that you have the right to exist here, and you have the right to make decisions, value assessments, all of these things. That is your job, and I don't have a part of it, nor should I invade your physical, biological self to institute any other ideas other than the ones that you give consent to. That's who I am. That's what I'm about. It's the only thing that I'm personally responsible for, and that's what I'm here to do.
I'm sure a lot of the audience that has dived into sovereignty and into contract law and into notice of liability, which is there's a good group of people doing these things here in Denmark and Sweden. I'm sure they can understand and appreciate what you are saying about sovereignty and about contract law. How did you, because it's the juridical area, the legal area is quite different. It's of course related to a lot of yeah, it's related to the Bible, because that's probably the first law book, at least we know of. And so there's a history to this, but how did you make out that contract law and these different deceptions to lure us into these contracts and into this legal fiction? How did you manage to navigate into this and get a comprehension that matched what you knew in this technical area?
Well, when I met with Walter, I had experience in understanding in certain things, and he had experience in different understandings. So we collided. We were like best friends immediately, mostly because both of us were adopted children. And something interesting was going on regarding our relationship as adopted children and our relationship with Dr. John Mack. Dr. John Mack was the psychiatrist from, I think it was Harvard or Yale, I'm not remember. He changed the whole world by putting his career secondary and putting his findings about the abduction phenomena first. And when we were privately meeting, all of us said, you know, we're all adoptees. Isn't that interesting? Because the Freedom of Thought Foundation, it's mind control covers a large, vast area of subject matter. It examines media ecology, child development, trauma, psychology, and technology, because the examination of technology is what Walter instilled in me to discover, understand, or I wouldn't call it understand, I'd call it overstand now, what that means, because he always we had a very fiery relationship, and yelling back and forth, and him trying to make me understand that technology, any human creation of technology, dictates modality. It dictates the modality of senses, the sensorium, and how our senses interpret stimulus. So he always used to tell me, make sure you understand, James, that technology dictates modality. Do you get that? Do you understand? Do you understand that? And I didn't for a while. It took a long time because at that time we had the leaders in hypnosis, the leaders in linguistics. We were interacting with the McLuhan Institute. We were basically laying a blueprint out in Operation Mind Control Volume 2, how human behavior would be in the future and what the future was going to be. And we predicted it right on target, because we're right here now, about what human creators have done with technology and how technology alters human perception and value and connectivity with each other. So I spent a long time examining linguistics, language, hypnosis, and the technology of the phonetic alphabet, the Gutenberg press, through the eyes of the McLuhan Institute, because I knew Eric McLuhan and I know Andrew McLuhan now. So all my work is related to how human behavior is affected by technology. So one of those technologies is the phonetic alphabet, and how that affects human perception and left to right brain hemisphere thinking, and all the effects that has to different cultures, specifically the not just the English alphabet, but other alphabets, and how that affects thinking and so forth. So we would really examine technology from a perceptive standpoint, and then map it and know what the effects are going to be 40, 50 years down the road. So I've been very public about using the cell phone as a metaphor of destructive change and how it affects human relationships. So we'd examine technologies as with unbiased, just practical, what does this technology do to us? And what effects are those going to do, and how will those effects be manipulated by the creators of that technology? Because we figured out and knew that any technology that's being put into culture has a direct effect on that culture and the creators of it, cognitively, in their thinking. I get sent into meetings with all different types of people, and I am there to essentially disrupt their patterns in which they think, so that they would think about, not just the business profit aspect of a technology, but what its effects will do to this money, people, choice, market, all of those things. And I map all of that out with companies. So I get technology people coming to me all the time, and they want me to go and do that work and sell their company all the time. But to reverse back what you said, it's the examination of technologies and your awareness of what those technologies do, and then being able to map that, explain it, articulate it, and then codify the language, and then be able to give that to the public, so we have a head start, we have lead time to what the effect, the media ecological effect, will do to culture. It's a safety tool, but the understanding the safety tool when discussing technology and human awareness. It is generally not discussed in public at all, because they don't want you to know this. They, the reality in the United States is that culture since about the 40s has been, and values and all the things that make us American have all been engineered completely. So the US are a somnambulistic culture. They're in deep hypnotic sleep in the electrical environment right now. And the perceptions and physical bodies have been completely manipulated by technology companies to reach an end goal of where we are now. And that is the fusion and making us fully cybernetic in the quantum state. So that's a rather broad answer, but I always want to keep it broad, because my goal here with you is to bridge minds. I want to make bridges of understanding and overstanding, because the only good thing in media today is the understanding. I say understanding because Marshall McLuhan said Understanding Media was his first breakout book, but it was really the examination of how human perception works in its relationship to technology. So I'm in that area. So when I was an example, I was with a US delegation in Cape Town, South Africa recently. And I was there to give current intelligence on certain technology that could be utilized when a new government is instituted there. That's one part. And then I was there to talk to the longest member of parliament on the current status of the brain-computer interface and quantum, and what that's going to do to the manufacturing and creation of the new declaration of their constitution. Because the Constitution, as it currently stands for the United States and any new countries, is totally incomplete if it does not have the Declaration of Neurocognitive Rights and what that means. If that isn't being discussed in any business contracts right now, anywhere in the world, you're involved with fraud. And you're also aiding and abetting a situation where agreements between technology companies are fiction-based. They're not actuality. I know because I'm involved with contract law, specifically on new technologies, and there's in the United States and in Europe right now, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of $1 million of investment fraud going on, because the investors and creators of technology are not up to date with the things that they're branding their technologies with, like security. And this has come about because we're in the quantum age now, because the two leading countries that have these tools already are the United States and China. And when you have quantum computing, it renders secrecy obsolete completely. So you can't have banks, you can't have anything anymore. You can't operate from the same position and expect to have the same relationship ever again. So this is the big secret behind the scenes. And I want to make sure I put that here for your subscribers and your audience, so they understand that, and overstand and understand, because this is an inner game. Because the only reason to be in media is to alter perceptions, alter states, and get you to see the world in a different way than you see it. Just like trying on a new pair of shoes You don't have to buy them. You just have to try them on, get a feel for them. If you don't like them, you put back your old shoes on. I'm not here to manage your audience's perceptions. I'm here to enhance them and expand them so they have an understanding of who the overlords are and what they're doing, because they don't want you here anymore. I don't care what country or what color you're from, and that's fairly public knowledge. So
when you
these
call yourself a media, excuse me, were you saying something, James?
no, go ahead.
When you call yourself, I think you mentioned you are a media ecologist. What is a media ecologist? Can you describe what is meant by a media ecologist?
Yeah, that's a field of study that has to do with the effects of technology on culture. Media, as the term is indicated, people think media is news. Media is what it means is technology. Anything can be technology. It could be a pencil, a knife, a book, a statue. Any human extension of creation is media, right? Ecology has to do with the understanding of how human beings interact with each other in law, in value systems, tradition, all of these things. So media ecology is the psychic and social study of culture as it relates to the cultural creations that come out and affect the way we treat each other and our value system. So Walter Boert, he's told me that I would turn into that because at that time I was very young and I wasn't sure whether or not I wanted to be involved with all of this because of the danger that was around us in the early 90s. This was very, 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 very secret. And they didn't want anybody to have an understanding of what was really going on. Because if people found out in a mass way, you'd have a complete breakdown of society and leadership and authority. Because we knew in the 90s that authority as a value term word would dissolve, so that you would be the authority, not a government or not a leader. Because let me tell you something, they are not. They are not at all. Because I've met a lot of them, and you'd be surprised how little they know.
Mm.
It's horrific, actually. I mean, I'm very fair, but very critical of all governments that are not transparent with the people that put them in office in the first place. And none of them are, because of the powers that be that created and participated in creating MK Ultra are the same people that are steering culture into what now is going to be a bifurcation of our species. Some are going to go cybernetic, and others are going to give the bird to the whole thing and say, you don't have a right to tell me what to think, what to do with my body, what my values are, who my God is, or whatever. And there's going to be a switch. It's already started, and that's, I know for sure, because I just got a phone call about it from people I know in the US where this is happening. There's a split that's happening right now because people are figuring out that we're at the biggest conjunction point in human history. We're not mature enough as a species to deal with anything that is going on at all. At all. I don't care where you're from, because the governments that have overruled us have lied to us because they think it's best that you not know, and they have used that against most of the planet now. And when I was saying this in the 90s, there was hardly anybody that I could speak to back then, because only very serious insiders, high-level military, high-level intelligence people knew what was really going on and what the end goals were of MK Ultra. When I answered these questions, I am hoping that the people that see this, listen to this, suspend all their preconceived sensory agreements that they have about what reality is, suspend them temporarily, have behavioral flexibility in your consciousness, and use your imagination, because your imagination is all you're going to have left. That's all you have left, barely, right now, because of what is underway right now, and that is the complete takeover of your mind and brain. But they're going to do it, and it's being done in a very, very, very clever way to get you to agree to it and want it. And it violates, they know that voluntary consent is a big issue, the governments do, and legal scholars. Our whole entire infrastructure of law is based upon the codification of the English phonetic alphabet and how it relates to Rome and the Bible, and the universal UCC and commerce, which is all basically, you have one thing, I have another thing, we agree to do something, and then from that something comes something that advances us both through the terms of the agreement. That's called, one of the maxims of law. The maxims of law, all of them are being violated right now. So this is why, behind the scenes in the legal world, lawyers are being obsolesced. They're being obsolesced by AI, and they're being obsolesced because they cannot articulate in law the effects that are happening right now to us as a species. Because we have, people say the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States, that is the primary document of planet Earth as far as freedom of speech, cognition, and everything as we currently understand it. But that's just America. The other countries, some of them adopt some of those principles, but a new constitution and neurocognitive rights have to all be laid down very carefully, and they're being the new language and terms. I'm involved in the creation of that right now, because I'm primarily, in fact, I'm sure I was the first person to declare my neurocognitive rights to the system, the world system of the UCC, and what that entails, and that I have complete autonomy and ownership of all of it. And any representation used by any technology company is they're liable, and I have copyright over voice, image, cloning, AI. I own it all. So if it is used against my agreement, that I have remedy in law to do something about it. But that has to do with covenant and the relationship to the Bible and law as it stands, because I had to take complete control over my initial certificate of authenticity about the decedent of my body and mind when I was born. So I'm heavily involved in law, creating the new neurological, neurocognitive rights, and that's basically what I am doing on my Patreon account. People pay for me authoring on their behalf their neurocognitive rights to file with the local city governments, the UCC, and the whatever their federal government is, because you have to you can't be silence. Silence equals acquiescence in law, and the reason we've gotten ourselves into this position is because we agreed to all these myriad of contracts, technological contracts, which have changed our value systems and perceptions and how we interact with each other. And law firms and technology companies took advantage of that, because there's nobody that watches this that goes and reviews all their updates and contracts when they update their phones or computers. None of them. Even the name related to all the contracts it's not even in yours. You don't even control your own name. You're agreeing to all of this. And what I am about is you, the individual, taking power back over your name, your relationship to the name, and the government that rules over you. So you govern thyself, or else be governed. Okay? So this is one of the primary things that the Freedom of Thought Foundation and Walter Bowert and a slew of other experts that we had in the field were instituting in the 90s before anybody. But nobody really got that far down the road to even have an understanding of what that even meant. That was in the 90s. So today, there's some people that have a better understanding of it. I can talk to maybe 5 or 6 people that have a complete understanding and overstanding and understanding of what I'm referring to, because this is the return of the Godhead. We're in that right now. You, Fleming, you have a right, and you, under the laws of the Bible and the UCC and basic contract law, that is covenant and biblical related, and you're an act of creation by God, and the name that was given to you, that was registered within the construct of all the contract law in this world, you didn't have any understanding or overstanding of that at that time, and you have to rearrange your relationships and that requires you to take your power back, take your Godhead back, all of those things, because there's covenant as it relates to law. And this is what all the lawyers are figuring out now, because they have to. The lawyers and all the law firms that I deal with right now are totally panicked, because they're going to be obsolete, and they already are right now. This is why the courts in the United States are totally dysfunctional, because of what's going on. So the whole all of this has to do with what is going to be released in the public this year, probably by summer, and that will change the whole situation forever. It will never return to be the same ever again. They're already doing it right now, but there's going to be a more formal declaration of what it means to be human, and are we alone in the universe? And the answer is going to be no, we are not alone. And that's the big event that's been being prepared for behind the scenes currently to go public, and that will affect all commerce, all behavior, everything. And there's preparations being made right now to maintain, or the attempt to maintain, your relationship to authority figures. That's what they're really freaked out about. I can tell you that 400% sure. Is our international leaders and so-called elite, you're not going to listen to them anymore, because something with higher intelligence is about to show up, and they are desperately trying to see to it that you believe them, not the higher intelligence. That's what this whole thing is about behind the scenes. And I'm directly involved in one of the aspects of that, and that is the facilitation of the maintenance of human autonomy, human awareness, and the right for you, Fleming, to govern your own spirit in law and in society. This is why I came here to do this specifically about this. So I have to, when I get with any audience, I have to, in a perfect world, I do it in person with a large audience, because communications through this scenario are distorted. They're out of time. There's no context to them. The effect of instantaneousness now is affecting how we overstand things. The reason Walter Bowart said I was a media ecologist is because I kept on reminding him, because I was watching very closely, of what the pager did to human behavior when it came out in the United States, because we knew that they needed the powers that be wanted to attach something to the body to train us for cybernetics. And you've got to get something close to the body, a transmitter close to the body, to scale up a human so that it would be cybernetic, because they've done this in stages. They knew when the internet came out, it would completely change everything, and they would have biological impact, complete sensory balance change. People's nervous systems would be altered. Most children being born now, they're shoved an iPhone right into their mouth when they're 4, and their whole development is completely, totally different than you and I that went through the stages of this. Their bodies are shocked. They have to deal with the effect of instantaneousness immediately. So, people ask me to come on and they do these interviews, and they have a certain way of they're going to ask questions and I will respond. And I always remind the host or whoever that's contacting me that I don't know. I don't look at what they previously done, because I want to start from zero with somebody, so that we can exchange ideas without presupposed motivations or whatever. Because people, my job is to bridge minds and make people understand something with technology and what it's going to do to us and how we're going to survive as a species. Because right now, we're in the pre-effect of, quote, catastrophic disclosure. That's where we're at, because decisions have been made by people that have decided that we're not necessary anymore. They don't need us here anymore. They're going to bring in the robot class. There's going to be a complete, total different society very quickly, within 5 years. A complete, totally different society. So that affects your life, it affects your health, it affects everything. They're doing all these things. So MK Ultra was the exposure of how they were going to pull it off, and how they're going to institute and legislate consciousness. We're not going to legislate consciousness. No, you are going to tell them that you have, you can call it sovereign rights. I don't like to use that word because it's already been attacked. The word sovereign has been attacked in the courts in the United States, and people in the United States, they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are related to a court of law. They don't know what's been done to them. They don't know mostly that their biology has been totally violated 6 ways to Sunday. They don't realize any tacit agreements or contractual agreements and consensus or understanding terms of agreement and contract law. They agreed and put themselves into this position, and the powers that be that did that, they don't have any problem with it, because you agreed to it. If you don't read the contract and you sign off all this stuff, well, it's on you, and it's our fault. So I always help people take responsibility for where they are at. because they put themselves in this position. And now they have to ascend out of it with a new understanding and overstanding of who they are related to the country, town, and person that they take orders from. Because this is what it's going to take for us to survive. I don't care what country you're in. That's what it's going to take. It's a superior mind, superior attitude type of thing for our survival, because we have to argue for our right to exist right now.
I do
That's
follow.
what literally was going on.
I do follow
Yeah.
the line of thought, and I have some more questions to explore in more in details. So I just want for the people that doubting what you are saying, and of course I think everybody should doubt and go and look for themselves and understand this area more thoroughly. But when you mention Freedom of Thought Foundation, I don't think people really can appreciate how important that was. That people were actually making the first alternative foundation organization for free thinking, and this is many years ago. And so today, you know, there's so many different organizations, but that was actually the foundation that that started this to go this route. Also, I just want to when you mentioned the UCC, just the other day I was in court. I was on the side of the bar when you have nothing to say, but it was one of my good friends who was being nailed in court, or at least attempted. They will succeed because the Danish system is they don't abide to their own laws anymore. But when he mentioned the UCC 308 without prejudice, he actually got some kind of I don't know, some kind of silent communication from the judge. So the judge actually looked up and paid attention for some reason, only for a brief period before you know, gaining composure again. And then when you so I'm just saying this because you know, it might be some garble to some people when you mention UCC, but it's a real thing, and people need to understand where it comes from and what place it has in this legal system or legal fiction that we are in. When you mentioned that back in the 90s there were dangers to trotting down this new route, I suppose there's still dangers today. And also you speak about actually being on different boards and committees. How, you know, how do you feel, you know, being part of the authority that is also being used to suppressing us? How does that, you know, interrelate?
I'll tell you, it's disappointing. It's disappointing that so many people don't have a very good imagination of a better future for our species. I have to constantly deal with people that are, especially in the United States, because information there is compartmentalized. It was designed that way. It was designed that way because that was actually modeled after a psychological condition called dissociative identity disorder. That's how the intelligence community and America operates, in compartmentalization. And basically what that means is A knows what B doesn't, and B doesn't know what C doesn't. So when you put A, B, and C together, nobody knows anything, right? Mm. Or they have pieces of something. They don't have a streamlined mosaic perception of what's going on. And it's been done on purpose. And that's now mirrored in multiple countries all over the world. So it's frustrating that I have to explain myself a lot. I was sent in, invited actually, to Central Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo, to meet with President Tikashetty's staff regarding the placement of disruptive technology in that environment, and to explain to him what the technological, media ecological effects were to be. And I spent most of my time explaining the benefits, just the benefits, not the other effects of obsolescence and conflicts in law and relationships and everything. So it's very difficult to bridge minds because of what's been done to people's minds. You have to have, in the modern society, flexibility in consciousness, and you have to have an understanding, overstanding, and understanding of how your relationship changes when you deal with the internet, for instance. We're completely not even seeing each other right now. We're seeing through other technological eyes. The timing is non-existent because people may see this a year from now. They may see it right away. So it's out of context. It may not be relevant for the person that sees it at the moment it sees it, and they may not get any connection to it. So that doesn't create linear understanding at all, because everybody's a producer, everybody's a director, everybody's a transmitter in the information environment, because we're in a post-information environment right now where the node in the server, which is the representation of you, has more value than the three-dimensional real person, Fleming, sitting in front of me. That's an effect that we have to deal with. So most people, I have a problem with meeting with military, lawyers, political people in a room, and then having a wider conversation about the decisions that they're making. Because there is zero understanding of what cold fusion is going to do to money and what that means to banks, to lawyers, to law firms, to basic contract law. When you have over unity in technology, that violates all basic contract law, because that means that you have more power coming out of a situation than going into a situation. And if I'm giving you a device that's giving you more power, and you essentially don't need any inner power to go in it, then that kind of changes the agreement of what we're doing a lot. And these things need to be discussed with the public, not with legislators, not with politicians, and not with military people, because their all perceptions are within a certain bandwidth of their reality and what they deal with. You can't engineer society without a much more broad understanding of what technology does to human autonomy and understanding and awareness, because it changes it. I mean, most people are sitting in front of a screen 8 hours a day. That's quite common in the US. They can't get enough of it. Everything they do is alter the biology. Go talk, if you interview a chiropractor in the United States, you won't believe what they say. They'll say, well, we got a lot of teenagers in here because they have neck and back problems. I'm like, really? What from? Because they're leaning over like this all the time. Their physiology, it's altered our physiology. And nobody called you or called anybody in Denmark or any other country and told you but what these effects were going to do to culture and your people. They didn't do any of that stuff. They just put it out there. And I'm saying at this stage in our human evolution, we can't just put out tech anymore. We can't allow these companies and the overlords of these technology companies to have any further governance, because they're the ones that are running the show. It's not the lawyers or the heads of state, because they know how they've gotten so far down the road now that they can control human perception and value. What's valuable to your country, your people, because it's different in each country. That's very different. So it's nauseating to me to have to deal with elected officials that know nothing. And I'm talking strictly from my side of the world in the United States. There's no elected official that is being transparent with anybody over there about anything. When they call me in, it's to explain something to them that's been going on that they're not aware of in their decision-making process, where they're governing over people and doing what's best for culture. Because unfortunately, in the United States now, we have this obsolete behavior, which is profit, 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 and that's all that matters. Whatever makes the money, however it's been, as long as it makes the most profit and we can have the most control over it and have a monopoly over it, then that's what we want to do, and we'll do it at any cost, regardless of human life. So how do I feel about it? I'm mostly disgusted most of the time, having to deal with people that are only looking through the lens of profit. When you can't do that anymore. You have to be responsible for what these technologies do, because it alters the sensory balance of human awareness every time there's a new technology that comes out. That thing that you're holding in your hand, it changed the world. It changed the speed, the acceleration in which things were written. It changed. There's effects of technology on the human condition, and it's never discussed. You'll never find that going on in what so-called is news. News does not exist anymore. It's been obsolesced entirely. There's just transmission and information moving and sharing between one node to another node. So when people are getting their news, you have to go to multiple different positions. You have to examine how you're perceiving it, what medium you're perceiving it through, when you got the information, who transmitted the information, and where was it sourced. Then you can actually talk about the event itself, because events, depending on who's controlling the algorithm, get the most visibility and the most shares and the most everything else. So this is this manufactured manipulation of human perception that they've done and that are doing, and they've gotten everybody to participate and agree to it. Nobody had to buy iPhones. You didn't have to do that. You could have just stayed with the regular rotary one. But how did they do that? How did they get you to commit to it? What's Apple actually doing? What's AI actually for? This is and it's not just me. I'm one of the pioneers from that, from a long time ago. I was at the foundation of it. Now it's discussed way more now, but it's not included and discussed in public policy where decisions are made and laws are written. Like the UCC, and you just mentioned about the UCC, that's the Universal Commercial Code. It's a code of commerce that's universally shared and agreed upon, right? The Universal Commercial Code has direct relationship with the international technical standards governance of the world. In the United States, it's called NIST, the National Institute of Standards of Technology. So they have to codify the language so that multiple countries and multiple places decide what something means, right? And you don't get to talk to these people. You don't know who they are. You know nothing. And then they go talk to lawyers and policymakers, and they just make agreements, and then it's done. It's done. That's what's happening. So I get posed all sorts of different questions about what's happening, what's going on now. And I'm always seated from the technological, media, ecological vantage point so that we have a larger mosaic view of what to do next, right? Because this is going to affect the UCC, and the UCC is the underlying universally agreed upon codification language standards which govern contract law. And one of the maxims of law is contract, and what that means and what a contract is. The technology companies have sort of cleverly disguised all of that, right? And they do it by getting you to agree to something that you don't understand, or you won't read or take the time to, because none of you ever agreed or understand any of your credit card agreements. The banks have done it. They've all done it. They've done it to you. You agreed to it. That's the problem. Is people, they have to take responsibility. A lot of people don't. They want to. A lot of U.S. culture, they love the blame game. It's not how you play the game; it's how you place the blame, and they think that's a great intellectual position to be in. But it doesn't fix anything.
No. So if someone came to you and says, "So, James, what's the story about Greenland?"
I would tell them that's a strategic position for the United States to be in because of what's under the ground there, under the ice, and what is going on in Antarctica.
Not many people know that America, the US, is already in Greenland, have several sites, and have more or less put all over Greenland sensors and technology. Exactly what they are, I can't say for sure. But people don't know this. They don't know that.
No, they think it's
Greenland.
They're told that he's coming in and he's just taking property because he feels like it. No. No, it's way more complicated than that. It's way more complicated than that. First of all, there's something underneath the ice there, a technology that's under the ice there. That's the real story. So they've got to create cover stories to cover up that part because they don't want you really to know what the motivation is and why America is very interested in what's going on in South Africa, because it's directly related to what's going on in Antarctica, right? Because the United States is two things behind the national security curtain. When they created the National Security Act of 1947, it came at the same time as the Roswell crash and a bunch of other things, technological advancement, all these things took place. So they created the National Security Act basically in a week. It was the least discussed thing, and it ended the United States basically because you didn't have any transparency about anything, because they classify everything and they call it a national security secret. But if you ask them what national security is, they don't have a clear definition of it all, because they've got to send you like this amount of paperwork explaining what national security is. But behind that, that's the real world. That's DARPA. That's the secret space program. That's all the UFO technology. That's the MK Ultra. That's that entire world, that's the real world. And everything in front of it, that's just been to keep you kind of occupied and distracted from finding out how the real world really functions and who's governing it and who's doing it. And for a lot of people, they're just kind of discovering this now, but I'm not the first to say it. We were the first to explain that, that human behavior could be manufactured, and a lot of their elected employees or officials, they're not even real people. They don't even, a lot of people don't even realize that their elected officials are behavioral software in action, and they're not even, the real person isn't even there. They're not even aware of the real person themselves. For instance, like Barry Soetoro, Barack Obama, the core person is vaporized. That man is a malfunctional, dysfunctional human being that has conflict about his core being and who he really is as it relates to his job. And you can see that if you examine his behavior very closely. And I'm just using that as an example because he's the one, everybody knows that guy. But there's hundreds of them all over the place. I can see them if I spend time with them enough. I can't see it on video all the time, but I know all the cues, triggers, and codes, and the language variances and micro muscle movement changes, eye patterns, all these things that indicate incongruency. So I'm just saying that because people say, well, the president says this, or this says this, or this, and they have no idea that guy is, that's a manufactured neuroplastic answer that was installed by a handler over a long period of time. Because people forget that the United States is like a petri dish of experimentation on its own people. And they get everybody to agree to it, right? So like the self-help movement was born in America. It came from the introduction of neuro-linguistic programming, which was a CIA outfit, which took the tools of many different psychologists and hypnosis and mesmer and everything, and they put it into one standard thing to use for the military initially. And that's where Tony Robbins came out of, because that he built his career in the commercialization of behavior modification. That's where you pay somebody to stop smoking or lose weight or be a better business person, whatever. That's the behavioral software from MK Ultra. That's where it came from. All the hardcore stuff, that's all hidden away, and much of the stuff that's been told in the public, because our work, we gave it to the world to essentially save it or warn it. There's been like 15 Hollywood movies that's been made about it. We both of us consulted on Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson. That movie they came to us about, but mostly we gave that information to the world. So Hollywood, it's now, MK Ultra is a household name, but it wasn't back then. The public's always behind, way behind. They're at least 60 years behind of what's really going on.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen in the near future, and your subscribers and listeners may not see it. It's hard to tell, because like I said, in this year during the summer will be the big event, and that's going to be the part where an authority figure is going to come out and say we're not alone, and we have all these advanced technologies, and we're going to have to change the way we live because this is what's really happened. And they're going to try and get empathy from the public about them handling it this entire time and not telling you about it, your heritage, your right to be part of the human family. This whole thing is going to change. It's happening right now, and it's happening in various different places. It's happening at the World Economic Forum. It's happening in the United States on multiple networks. I don't know if it's reached Europe entirely. I mean, I live half the time in Europe, and I see how people, what they respond to, what they're talking about, what they're doing, and Europe is way behind. They're basically barely catching up to what's happened. Why America is the way it is? Who's really running it? What's running it? What is running it? That's the question. It's not a who, it's a what. Is it human or non-human? How did we get so many advances in technology from a short amount of time to where we are now? It's an explosion of technology that's way past our ability to deal with it. And this is what's happened. The internet was part of it. Fiber optics was part of it. Technology and cell phones was part of it. The weaponization of what took place down in with Maduro, with the raid, those are neurosonic weapons against the brain that we're using, that have been around. We're in Star Trek. That's the best way to describe it.
I can never.
We're way in a different area. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. I can never forget when I used to work. I worked for 3 years in the Middle East for Ericsson, and basically I had the responsibility for wireless communication products, and we made the first mobile internet platform. It was called the WAP, WAP at that time, and we had all these consultants coming in and out, and they were always talking about the killer application, and I was like, that sounds fancy. It's like killer is probably, in order to make a lot of money or something like that. But that was really, we talked so much about the killer application. That was in 2G and 3G times back then. That was in the start of the of this millennium. Anyway, that was just the thought of mine from back then when I was in that industry. It's many years ago. It's 25 years ago. However, James, I know that you are in Spain right now. You are going on to India. You're doing a lot of interviews these days, which is great. And I want to catch you here online in this digital realm for another, preferably 2 sessions where we discuss in more detail this operation mind control MK Ultra as a separate topic. I know it's hard to separate these things, and then we talk about these emerging technologies. I have some insight into what 5G is and what 5G is not, and maybe we can help expanding each other minds. Maybe I can bid in a little bit when we come to that. So I don't want you to leave the call, because we need to discuss how to arrange the next sessions when we finish here. But in the end of this introduction to you, is there something that people should know? Where can they go and learn more about your approaches?
They can go to, I run a Patreon account. It's James Martinez Media, patreon.com/James Martinez Media. And that is where I do up-to-date intelligence reports on what's happening with the brain-computer interface, law, and technology, and how it all interrelates. Because I'm in meetings almost daily with the head of the BCI committee for the United States. So, what I'll do is I can go into the executive summary of national security imperatives for U.S. leadership in brain-computer interface, artificial intelligence, and quantum standards. This type of paperwork is all going down right now, and it's a completely new territory for everybody, because I have yet to talk to somebody that knows what to do, what we're dealing with, and what to do. So all that stuff has to come out.
That's great. And also, I do believe that Operation Mind Control is actually available on your Spotify channel, so people can listen. That's yourself reading on it if they want.
Yes, there's the audiobook.
Yeah.
There's they can reach me at either Patreon or freedomofThoughtFoundation.org. Or if they want to listen to the audiobook of Operation Mind Control, yes, it's on Spotify. It's been blocked because not a lot of people find that. They don't want anybody to really get into that. It's been plagiarized, and the book I was involved with has been illegally reprinted by Amazon and all sorts of stuff. But it was never about profit. It was about warning everybody and preparing everybody for what was going to happen. So if they want to sell it or whatever, I'll deal with them later.
Well, there's definitely a build up toward the summer here of 2026, as you were talking about. Some things are taking on, accelerating at this time. It'll be interesting. It's interesting times we are in, and it's more interesting because people like you, James, are here to enlighten us a bit on what is actually going on behind the scenes. So thank you so much for this interview. I'm really looking forward to fret you more on more details in these areas.
You got it. Look forward to it.
Still gonna get you if you don't do something. Sitting on the fence, that's a dangerous cause. You can even catch a bullet from the peacekeeping force. Even the hero gets a bullet in the chest. Oh yeah, once upon a time in the West.